Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm Tiffany, a retired librarian turned homeschool mom. And this video, we're going to be looking at another book. I have this on my tablet. I've ordered it from our library. It's called The Victory Garden, and it is by Lee, I can't pronounce this one. Let me bring this up a little bit. Hold on. Oh, I really can't pronounce this. It's very German looking. Kochenderfer. Look at the description. Can't pronounce this. So, The Victory Garden is an interesting little book. I'm just by reading it, it's probably late elementary would be my opinion on that. I'm going to do a quick opening this in Libby. If you're not aware of what Libby is, this is a lot of libraries use it. It's part of their online lending library. So, yes, let me see how long this book is. About the author. How many pages is this? About 208 or 205 pages. 204 if you're getting like on full pages. So it's not that long. It's probably about late elementary, middle school age would be my recommendation. So probably around 9-10 at the youngest for this. You definitely could read it aloud to younger kids. So it's definitely elementary age, particularly if you have an advanced reader. There's nothing outward in this book. So what this book is, it talks about a young girl. Her brother it's World War II. Her brother has gone off to be an Army Air Corps pilot. The Air Force didn't exist yet. This is World War II. It didn't really exist until right after, or near the very end of World War II. So he's part of the Army Air Corps. He's a bomber pilot. So he works with the bombing squadron of the big, giant flying fortresses. And right before he left, his family started a victory garden, particularly his father. Their neighbor is a retired farmer. So he's lent out his land to another farmer because he's too old to do it. And he has a massive garden that he's doing his own victory garden. And they start this competition of growing the best tomatoes. And the reality is, and I mentioned this in the book, that this competition, particularly what the neighbor is doing, is to help her father get through the war, specifically, particularly with his son overseas. And so you do have her and her family writing. She gets letters back from her brother. But it's near the end of the school year. And right before this happens, their neighbor gets injured. He's back on his farm and trying to help out, and he's injured in a tractor accident. And so as a school project to, I think, earn victory bonds, which is to help with the war effort, the young girl decides to tell her teacher with the idea of saving her neighbor's garden, because otherwise they're going to mow it under because there's nobody there to take care of it. So she and several of her classmates decide to take care of this garden and sell the vegetables to get these war stamps, which again benefit the war. So, and they do end up using the extra money for themselves, which is very little. So, but it tells the story of how her and her classmates plant these vegetables and bring them to their neighbors and sell them and get orders and stuff and take them in, while she's also competing for these better tomatoes and with having this little secret idea, which turns out to be she's taking a paintbrush and dusting pollen from different flower to different flower, which at the end of the story, when she mentions it, when she finds out that tomatoes are self-pollinators, but she mentions it to the farmer's wife, and she's like, no, this was actually a good idea. This was probably at least somewhat helping. And then she goes and talks to the farmer because he's come home now. And he's like, yeah, you're helping bring different species and giving different genetics to the tomatoes. But again, by this point, of course, they all realize and they all know that the point of the tomato thing was to help her father. to keep the garden going and to help him through the war. Her family also runs a shoe store. So they do basically fixing shoes, and that's the shop that they work in. Her mother does it as well. So, but you deal with a lot of what people are dealing with in the war. One of her group classmates' father left, and a lot of people speak down to them because he left for the war, abandoning his family. Because I think in a lot of their minds, it's the sons to go off to war. There's also letters where their old paperboy dies. He's one of their neighbors. This is a small town. So you get this sense of what's going on the home front. And you get people talking about what her aunts and uncles are doing. Her cousins, who are older, are off working in the factories. They're family farms. This is a farming community. So this is what they're used to when you're kind of seeing the end of the Great Depression. And this is just as America's gotten into the war. So this is like 42, 43. So it's very different. Her brother went off to war very, very quickly by choice. So he signed up barely before he turned 18. So, and he's been gone for, I think, a couple of years at this point. And she does show how much she misses her brother. And they do get some letters back and forth. And it ends with her her father winning the tomato race, and how one of her classmates' father does go missing. And then there's also the confliction with this bully who's kind of been a nasty piece of work. His dad's kind of a drunkard, but he rescues a dog who turns out to be the neighbor's dog, who had been picked up by his own, I think his cousin or something, and then run away. And this young boy found him, and he was taking care of him. And our main character realizes who this dog is, and she gets her mother because they're at church. And again, this is World War II. Why this is not a religious book in a secular family. I don't cover religious books. It is World War II, so pretty much every, particularly in a small town, they go to church, and that's pretty much, they mention they're at church. So they wear their nice Sunday clothes. That's actually when the accident happens, on Sunday. So, and that's when her father really works in those victory gardens. So it talks about her relationship with him, and how even at one point they help out. Actually, no, the person who wins is the mother of the boy whose father's gone missing. So he had gone to war, and they'd actually helped out in his garden. And she gives the prize to them anyway, because she's like, they helped me. When she's the oldest, I think he has like 3 younger siblings, so she's home alone with them. And a lot of people are talking bad about her because her husband's left, and they talk bad about his father because he left his family to go to war, and now he's missing. I think he's missing in the European theater. And no, you don't find a resolution. This pretty much ends with this competition. And then the author goes on and talks about these victory gardens, how they fed communities, how they helped keep people sane through the war. But they fed the communities, they fed families, they fed people. And she does mention, and this is true, that without food and supplies, a war cannot be won. So when Roosevelt's fighting that war, you have to have the supplies. So a lot of the big farms were supplying the war effort. So these little victory gardens were supplying these small towns with food and produce and things that they needed. That why a lot of other stuff was going to the war and going to the soldiers overseas in order to help us win World War II. And yes, this was a vital part. In my studies of World War II, one of the things that Hitler did very, very wrong was he did not supply his lines. He didn't supply his soldiers. They froze in Russia because they didn't have the gear, and they starved to death because they didn't have food and they didn't have clothing, and they weren't, basically he didn't supply his lines. And I'm filming this in April of 2022, so the The Russian-Ukrainian war is in fact currently going on, and Russia is doing this as well. They're not accurately supplying their lines. So they are not prepared to accurately feed and supply their soldiers. Therefore, they're making a massive, massive mess. And they're not doing very well, by causing casualties like crazy, because they're nuts. But again, back to World War II. This is a very, very good book. It's definitely elementary, maybe middle school range. It's a little too simple for high school. Again, it's not that long. It would definitely make a good read aloud book. Good if you're studying World War II. If you're looking into gardens, it's kind of a good book because it does talk about them, the different plants, how they bloom and fruit at different times, and how they take care of them, and how much work it takes to clean the bugs, to water the gardens, to look after these plants, and how much work it takes to do it. So that is the reason I'm doing it here in April. You guys will be seeing this in April of 2023. I am filming it in April of 2022. In fact, I'm filming it on Easter Sunday of the whole thing. So that is when this is being filmed. So this is a really, really good book. It's very simple, but again, it goes into the gardening, and it goes into the importance of life in a small rural town during World War II, and how that affects different families during this like 2-3 months of summer. So that's the end of this video. Be sure to check out the rest of the channel. Come April 2023, I'm doing a lot of garden stuff. So that's what I'm covering. I do books ranging in age from the littles to the older ones. I have some more serious books that I've done. I'm doing a graphic novel this month. That's a twist on The Secret Garden, which, yes, I've already done. So you can check out that video as well. I've done the 1995 film, which I own. So I've covered that. So I do a wide variety of stuff. We do some travel stuff. I do some homeschooling stuff, but again, it's based on, we are a secular family, but it's also based on where I'm at with my own homeschooling, which by the time you guys see this, we're still really, really on the very, very beginning. By the time you see this, my daughter will be closing in on 4. So the homeschooling will be still very play-based. So we will be doing a lot. I will be adding board games and stuff. We will have, again, some travel stuff here, and just some really rudimentary stuff that we're covering, as opposed to my book and my film reviews, which will do the wide range. Again, I have a master's degree in library science, so this is kind of what I do. So be sure to check out the rest of the channel. I have a lot going on this month, a lot of series going on this year of 2023. So be sure to check that out, and check out the rest of the channel. Leave a positive comment if you have one. Thank you.